Good morning. Here we go again. I call this one Off the Coast. It's Bass Rocks in Gloucester. It's a beautiful spot. There's this wonderful, big, deep, warm bush in the front, which is wonderful. We're putting in the ocean in the background. It's up close to the rocks, so it's not too deep and it's very green. And I'm using a phthalo green there mixed with a little cobalt blue. It's just a light greenish color. Leave some white back there for just to show some activity in the surf. I'm using a little more green in this particular area of it. That's just the wave crashing on the rock. All right, in the front we have this big section of rock. So what I'm doing here is I'm covering the whole thing with raw sienna first, and use some color, put some pigment on there. I'm adding some red to it, and I want to get that nice orangey warm color. And don't mix the whole thing. Let it let's have some variety here and there. Different sections would be much warmer than others. All right, I'm dropping some cobalt blue on there to cool it down. Like, again, not everywhere. Let it find its own color. Beautiful sections of different colors. Let it all run together. A little cooler up there towards the water. Okay, just let it mix. Enjoy this. It's a great time. I'm putting some more raw sienna in there, a little more red. All right, don't be afraid to drop some color and keep it all nice and wet. Let it all run together. You're looking for those beautiful shades of color. So I'm basically mixing up warms and cools. You can use any colors you want, really. But the warm colors are obviously raw sienna and cadmium red. You can use rose. You can use cobalt blue, ultramarine, any colors you want, warm and cool. All right, we're going to get some of these rocks in that are at the edge of the water. So these rocks are soaking wet constantly. They're really deep, dark rocks. So I'm using ultramarine mixed with a little quinacridone sienna. Bring it down, and you could push it towards the sienna if you want, keep it a little warmer, and then in some areas keep it a little cooler. So I'm letting it come down right into the water, and I'm going to go back and wet that and lighten up the edge where it's in the water to give you a sense of the surf coming up. So I'm just going along the edge there where the real wet areas are on the rocks, and get those in first. All these lines are going towards the white area, just leading your eye right towards it. Okay, so what I did here was I took the color that I had that was making the rocks, the quinacridone sienna and the ultramarine blue, and put a lot of water in it. I added a little bit of red to it to warm it up. And now what I'm basically doing is putting another coat on the rocks. But I'm leaving some of those areas showing that light area, like light hitting the rocks. And you can see some of it I'm pushing the blue, other areas I'm pushing the red, and then again I'm pushing some raw sienna on the other side. So you can see the different areas of color. That's what you want. You want a nice variety of color and tones through the whole rock section. And then every once in a while I'll go back with that dark color, pick up that ultramarine and quinsienna with the dark, and really start shaping the cracks in the rocks and the separations between the rocks, and all those crevices that you see. And just work those. Take your time and don't, But what I am trying to do is lead the eye towards the shore, towards that white shoreline. All right, so I picked up some warm color on this side. Just enjoy that. It's really fun, just to shape these different rocks and colors. And there's no hurry, you just go in all different directions here. Notice I'm leaving that area on the right there leaving that blank because that's where that big bush is going to go. So we'll take care of that in a minute. But right now we're just taking our time and working these cracks and crevices of the rocks. And you can see the beautiful tones that those colors leave. You know, some are much cooler. You know, the blues might be closer to the edge of the water where the water's washing down. So now I'm going back with another coat of that warm mix that I had. And that's just the warm mix. It's the ultramarine and the quinacridone sienna, which is very dark, and then I added a little red to that and a lot of water. This is a lot of nice warm wash. All right, I'm just sort of working these cracks and crevices. There's a big rock here in front of us. The rocks are larger in front of you, and that helps with the distance, the sense of distance. You know, anything as it goes away from you is going to get a little smaller and a little cooler as it goes back, even at this short distance. We exaggerate as artists, so, okay? All right, so keep working that. Keep working those rocks and deep crevices and cracks. And so you can see how all my lines are still going out toward that edge of the water, okay? Yeah. I'm just going to let this run and you can just watch me paint that. And all right, so I'm putting another layer of that warm wash on there. I pushed this a little warmer towards the red. And you still leave some of that light color shining through, you know. All right, here we go with this. All right, what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to paint the whole area where the bush is a very dark color. And this is just ultramarine and quinceanna and some deep cadmium red. All right, so I'm using that flat brush to create some cracks and crevices up above. But generally I'm doing this big shape of where the bush is. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically painting the earth underneath that, you know, that deep dark earth color underneath the bush. So I want to get that in, and then I'm going to add the bright warm bushes on top. These bushes are almost, you know, they're almost red. They're deep quinceanna actually perfectly is the perfect color. So, but they also are growing in between the crevices and cracks of some of these rocks. So it's nice because that evens out, you know, it sort of evens it out, balances it out in your painting. So you have this, I'm still doing the earth here, but you can see how that color will, you know, a little bit here and there across the painting will balance it out. All right, I'm getting into the bush now, the actual plant part of this bush. And what I did was I took quinceanna, but I added some red to it. I want it to be nice and warm. That's a little too bright, but I'm going to calm that down as I mix in with these dark colors, you can see. So what's important here is not so much the big shape, but the edges. The edges are really important, and what we're looking for little branches and, you know, kind of a leafy effect that's sticking out above the big shape. So I'm mixing this warm red color, quinceanna, into the black that I put down earlier. And I'm trying to get some of that leafy shape, those little leafy shapes on the top. Giving it a nice spray here. I want to keep that whole thing nice and wet and flowing and moving down little by little, letting these colors mix back to these edges. Very important that, you know, this plant substance here is growing in between. The leaves are sprouting up in between the rocks and the crevices, not everywhere, but a lot of the place. Like I say, it gives you a nice balance of texture and color on your painting, so you can put it here and there. And I'm just using this warm color to cover up some of that. There I am in between the rocks again. To cover up some of those dark edges, and you know, it's a lot of fun. Enjoy that, and I'm just going back and forth between the quincy and the warm color and the deep dark black of the earth that's underneath there. So I'm just creating some shapes here with the black in between the leaves and the branches of that big bush. Okay. And I'm just creating sort of a organic look here down in the base. I'm letting that dry kind of, it's drying sort of a violet color, but I'm putting a little bit of green in there, just a drop, a lot of water and a touch of phthalo green in the splash, and then loosening it all up. Not looking for any hard edges or any, you know, just a sense of the movement of the water up there. So just drop some phthalo green and then a lot of water, moving it around, touching it up with a towel. All right, I'm using a spatter. You know, you've seen me do this 100 times. I'm just spattering some water on the plant, giving it a few seconds to set, and then tapping it with a towel, and then wiping it, and then going back in. So I'm working the texture of that plant. And that pretty much does it, okay? I hope you enjoyed that. It's a beautiful spot. Bass Rocks is one of the most beautiful spots in New England, overlooking those rocks on a beautiful day. So thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.